email is sort of dead. It just doesn't work. We will do anywhere from 2 to 5 tests a month for any given client. That's more than enough to systemically change a client's business. We return well over 7 to 8x ROI at any given time. That's sort of the low end. We sustain it. There's no reason to stop continuing to grow with us. Very few are really gifted and focused on being able to own deep data analytics, qual and quant. Many people talk about friction, not really worried about friction. If people want to buy something, they're going to figure it out.
Thank you so much for joining.
Pleasure.
Where are you calling from today?
Durham, North Carolina.
I see. How is it in North Carolina now, this time of year?
It's warm.
It's warm.
It's about 86.
Wow. We have about 65 in San Francisco today.
That's beautiful, though.
Yes.
It's always a little chilly in the summer in San Francisco. Are you right in the city, right in the Bay?
Yeah, straight in the city, super close to the baseball arena.
I know where you are.
So yeah, I'm in the thick of it.
Beautiful. There are far worse places to live.
There definitely are. And what about the North Carolina? What are some of the, are you in a big city or?
Well, we just moved. We spent 22 years in Austin, Texas.
Okay.
So that was amazing. Raised our kids there. And then back in November, just moved to Durham. Durham is sort of a sister city to Raleigh, and that's the capital. So I think between Raleigh, Durham, Chapel Hill, Research Triangle Park, it's about 1 million people in sort of that whole area. So not huge, but not tiny. A lot of outdoor activities. There's great trail riding, bikes, a lot of walking parks, a lot of Eno State Park is like 10 minutes up the road. It's great. I mean, it's a lovely outdoor area.
That's awesome. Yeah, that was one of the main reasons why I moved to San Francisco too. I also just booked a trip to Whistler, Canada to do some downhill mountain biking in August. So I'm super excited about that. I'm assuming
it's great.
You bike too?
Road bike. I
Yeah.
don't do the mountain biking as much, but I do the road bikes. But yeah, I've been to Blackcomb Whistler, been to that area. It's great. And I lived in San Francisco in the late 90s.
Oh, no way. What for?
Opened up an ad agency for a British firm, Loan Partners, Skylar McCabe Slope. So we had a couple of clients, Sun Microsystems, and Charles Schwab became my client. So we
Wow.
yeah, it was great. It was a good time. I was very young.
That's super awesome. I should say that I am a designer by trade. I'm a product designer and been for over a decade and built design systems for Cisco and done UI for Mercedes-Benz. And I would love to hear more about that story. Um, but yeah, before we jump in, again, great to meet you. I'll give you a little bit of context before we dive in. I'm the founder of Imperial Arts. We are a growth and design agency, and we mainly partner with B2B SaaS companies to help increase their revenue and profitability by acquiring new clients. And that's why we're now interviewing leaders such as people from Mercedes-Benz previously and Cisco, and now you, to gain deeper insights into the market and provide feedback and value back to you in the form of this on this podcast. Usually takes about 30 to 40 minutes. Does that work for you?
Sure.
Cool. So are you ready to jump into it?
Sure. Just as a reminder, I run a services business. I don't run a tech firm. So, but we also are in the world of growth, and we leverage a lot of, with the bulk of all the technologies we lean on around analytics and user research and experimentation. So yeah,
Sure.
so I'm happy to jump in whenever you're ready.
Yeah, that works perfectly. I mean, mainly here we are interested in founders and the growth of their company and hearing the ups and the downs. So
Got it.
yeah, just love to hear your experience. So yeah, I
Sure.
understand that mobile first provides growth, and yeah, it's an agency of
Yeah.
sorts.
Yeah.
So could you share some insights into your business, the role you play within it, and maybe even a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I could probably mix a little bit of both, but Mobile First was founded in 2014. Originally erected as a SaaS solution for developers, graphic designers really looking to see how content was rendering on mobile devices. At the time, emulators weren't really as popular, and for those developers, they really needed to know how content was floating into UI or UX. It didn't do so well. I wasn't with the company, and it had decided, its founders and investors decided to pivot, since there was a lot of institutional knowledge around how websites function and arguably how um, effective optimization. So there's a little bit of world of conversion rate optimization, at least for proving um, theoretical and optimizations for a particular page, a particular area, a business issue that's going on. So I was brought in to recapitalize the company, um, find a few experts at the beginning phases, chief product officer, growth strategists, build services SLAs. What is the offering? What's the cost structure? What's the contractual rhythm? Are these projects? Are these MRR clients? And really, what's the value proposition? So we did that from around 2017 to about 2019, to roughly just before COVID hit. We had sort of dialed in sort of what our offerings were, different products, audits, um, research efforts, partnerships in certain tech stack solutions, web applications, and really started in earnest. I would say we started a little bit earlier in 18, offering my network of friends that were e-commerce directors or CMOs that sort of had a blind spot in this area. Seemed evident. There's a lot of data points out there showing that there was a tremendous amount of money still to today around driving traffic. So for most online businesses, right, there's how do you win? How do you grow? You have to get more people to buy things online, and much of it is just managing the ROAS of getting more people to come, hopefully quality traffic. And along the way, you're improving the user experience, the product, the purchasing, the checkout, et cetera, and the different journey mapping, and saying, okay, how do we do these? But at some point, it gets hard and it gets expensive for marketers. And it's hard to find, or it was a challenge to find talent that really knew what they were doing in growth. Yes, as a product person, you have probably ideal experience in that space. But to do this at scale for a variety of different business models. So, one of the questions were, do we just focus on finance or healthcare, or pick a vertical and become experts in that area? Well, we weren't ready to do that. So our model really works, whether it's subscription, B2B lead gen, DTC. It didn't matter. And we like that. We like that versatility. Um, and we've had clients for 8 years now. Average client length is about 3.6, 3.7 years
Wow.
is what our data is showing. So we are not let's fix something for a few months and then find more clients. Ours is such that our clients recognize that they can't build it and manage it themselves in house. It would cost, estimates are somewhere between 500,000 to 1 million plus to find the right talent, manage that talent, pay full load, full freight, and honor, the insights that are coming in from that internal team. It's not new, the model of fractional marketing expertise, but it's easier. If you're tired, if your budgets aren't there, you can let us go. If you want to scale up and grow faster, you can turn up the knob. If you want to slow it down, you can. So there's greater flexibility, greater um, management control by our clients to be able to scale the way they need to. But we're not impervious to the agency world. As market cycle or as financial cycles go up and down, marketing broadly is the first piece to get cut or trimmed. So need to be able to insulate ourselves with longer term contracts for a percentage of the business. And then we have other project based business that allows us to get around the bumpy periods, at least from a fiscal management standpoint and a talent management standpoint. So in general, clients rely on us to do the things that if their internal teams are really managing um, either marketing or the dev instance, let's say the stack. So the CTO and the CMO sort of are managing those two things. Very few are really gifted and focused on being able to own this middle. And the middle, we would say, deep data analytics, qual and quant, the user research, so that first party information about what is the real issue. Many people talk about friction. We're not really worried about friction. If people want to buy something, they're going to figure it out. But it's really about value proposition and all the psychology and the behavioral activities that sort of ladder up to that expertise or that understanding. And then really being good at testing, being efficient. Most of the players in I'll call the CRO space, not knocking them, but their focus, at least from everything I know in the space, from the Tim Ashes on down, is velocity, test, 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 test. We've seen activity not replace quality of attention of things. So we will do anywhere from 2 to 5 tests a month for any given clients, and that's more than enough to systemically change a client's business. We return well over 7 to 8x ROI at any given time. That's sort of the low end. It's tough to promise that to brands that are like, I've heard that before. We sustain it. So there's no reason to stop continuing to grow with us. The reasons are a new CMO comes in, they bring their people in, or they have their own philosophy, but it's rarely ever because of performance. So
Amazing. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to unpack here. You mentioned pivoting at some point from a SaaS to an agency-based model, and then trying to figure out what clients need with the time. What are the current trends in the market that you're aware of? Where are the winds blowing, and what are you noticing nowadays?
sure. I think the obviously AI is changing um, everything. I would say it's paralyzing many. It's definitely pausing people. What to invest in and where. Maybe a year ago, even just a year and a half ago, people were full bore on how to grow. There was sort of a playbook. There was a model managing that ad spend, managing your product margin, figuring out what your allowable is. You had your email campaign, your loyalty program. Everybody sort of, there was a structure and there was a embedded understanding of what resources cost as far as talent. AI is now challenging everything, like every aspect of internal resources, processes, practices, and financial management, everything. So, so I, so I'll just say broadly that's been the biggest period of renewal for us, where there's always a question. Okay, what are you guys doing? And is there a way that we can reduce costs by leaning on AI more? Sure, we rely on AI, but AI doesn't find insights. AI, will synthesize and do things. So there's a bit of an education and a validation that has to go on. So there's more energy put to explaining, or at least investigating and then demonstrating, more than we ever had in the past. Personally, we find the volatility in the marketplace since the election in November, and then the transition of executive power in January, tariffs. There's just more distractions, or some people go as far as chaos, or they'll say just that there's disruption. Those things combined or compounded with AI um, have created some cash crunches. So from a product person like yourself, there's a lot of holdback. CFOs are saying, hold on, is every one of our clients have supply chain relationships globally. So as a component of whatever they're selling, they're now exposed to tariffs higher than they ever had before. And the volatility of it's going to hit, it's not going to hit, it's going to hit, it's not going to hit, has caused many contracts to be forced to be shorter term so that they can manage the downside. Now, those are sort of the negative economic standpoints. I don't think that's, turn on the news any night, you're going to hear some of that stuff. I think talent management as well is a little different. There's a lot more talent out there. There's unfortunately a lot more in the development space. I'm going to use broadly development space. A lot more jobs, or a lot more perceived availability. There's more contract work versus full time. I think that because of AI, there's a compression on salaries. So at least as there's a tightening on belts and budgets from clients, I'm seeing an expectation of what are you going to pay me a lot less than it was, let's say, 2 years ago. That said, the cream still rises to the top. And if you want people to do great work, you have to create a culture. And I think that there is, we're still coming out of it's COVID, work from home, work a couple of days. No, you got to work 5 days in the office. No, now it's going to be 3 days. So people are still trying to figure out the rhythm of what their workday is. I'm just talking pretty broadly. I'm not getting into the technical side, but those have been bigger contributors to the volatility of sort of a cohesive go forward plan with confidence. So there's a lot more gamesmanship, or at least it's the word I'm thinking of. This notion of having many different options that you have to consider for your planning. So
Yeah, how easy is it to attract and retain high quality team members?
Yeah, I find it's easier today. I wouldn't say it's easy, but there's the technology that allows keywords are now even more effective than ever. The ability to hire for a period, you can hire for 90 days to see how things go. They're more amenable. There's moonlighting. There's working with different clients, different agencies. So as long as your processes and practices or approaches are well defined, and there's a good work rhythm that you can slot people into, the easier that is. Ours is not as easy. However, we're finding people with skill sets that are becoming. It's easier to find today. 8 years ago, what we did and how we did it was more on the creative origination side. I would argue than today. The idea of conversion rate optimization, A/B testing, during the Google optimized sunsetting, there's obviously some changes, and skill sets that were not plentiful. As the
Yeah.
digital natives keep coming up, they're more familiar. It's more of a native language. So we can get them at times where what they're doing for us is not extremely expensive, and they want that experience as they're on their way to being, digital product managers, or, directors of e-commerce at some point. So we're an ideal stepping stone on the road to that.
Amazing. Well, we did focus a lot on your clients and what other people need in this time of day. Um, if we focus more on you and and your business, when you look at the next 6 to 12 months in your business, where do you see the biggest opportunity for growth that you're really excited about, and where do you see the biggest gap that needs to be fixed?
Yeah, that's a great question. There's many ways to answer that as far as sector approach and things like this. I would look at it as approaches for growth. I've been on many or dozens of different CEO roundtables, and the consensus is cold email is sort of dead. It just doesn't work, right? So things like this, connecting with leaders in different spaces. So there's more of a networking solution. We would just refer to it as partnerships. It's not a new thing, but the formalization of that partnership with the right people. So about 4 years ago, almost 5 years ago, we jumped in full board with Optimizely. At the time, they were really known for web experimentation, and that was sort of our bailiwick. Now they're CRMs, and they're the product escalation of their portfolio is now enormous. But we've worked our way to become a platinum support partner. So much of a good percentage of our business is predicated on brands that just bought Optimizely as a web experimentation platform, and we act as a implementer and partner to get them started. Many of those clients, they realize they'll have someone in that spot to get trained, and then they leave, and then the company goes, now what do we do? So they end up coming back to us and say, well, can you now manage our growth platform? So there's project work that we're doing, and we're developing more solutions in partnership with Optimizely, and then there's long-term clients. So from a business development standpoint, that's one example. We have partnerships with traditional media agencies that don't have the skill sets that we do, so we either white label, so you got to get creative, or through healthy partnerships. Not that the others are unhealthy, but transparency is always better. You don't want to I'm always uncomfortable with representing a brand that contractually didn't know that they're working with us. So we try and do the majority of all our partnership work as mobile first. But there are instances where we'll have scalability. There was an agency in New York that had a tremendous number of B2B clients, and they stood up this product that they couldn't deliver on. So for 2.5 years, we were basically their solution to testing and growth in that way. So so agencies, there's a variety of them that we do partnership in a way that we grow for their clients. So they have maybe the media side, and then they want to add these services. So partnerships is definitely a big growth. I think also we have to get more creative with, you have to get back in front of people. So conferences are now, they're coming back, ETL West, and there's a variety of ideal conferences that we have to just have presence at. I would say that we have not been doing as much of that for variety of reasons. Didn't feel like the talent that was showing up at that were decision makers. We've got to get better. So there's a bit of a chasm we're crossing as far as the investment in order to get the list and do some pre-work and so we're getting better at the relationship. For a period of time, we didn't have to spend as much energy wooing clients as a pre-sale. Our first meet to close was roughly around 2 weeks to about 4 weeks. Now it's about 5 weeks to about 3 months.
Yeah.
So if we're going back to what is the problem, is the time to value or time to close has gotten longer as the list of what about this, what about that, how does this work, has gotten deeper.
Yeah, it
So
seems like you have a lot of different paths to go. Am I understanding it correctly that Optimizely is working on client acquisition as well for you, or
Yeah,
is it?
yeah, exactly. We're in relationship with their partner slash sales team. So we work on both the mid market and the enterprise level
Mhm.
relationships. They have an in house implementation and onboarding group, but for the amount of business that they're doing and for their product diversification, we now are sort of carving out an area where they can be comfortable and reliable that it's a speed to market, it's a price benefit to those sales guys. We actually bring deals to their sales team. So it's a true partnership. It's not just that, but yes, their engine allows for those brands that are in the mindset of doing experimentation as part of growth to us.
Yeah, so in your recent experience, would you say that your business development and client acquisition processes are where you want them to be, or are there still parts that feel slower or heavier than they should?
I would say yes and yes. I would say, we set out on a course to diversify our demand generation or our lead generation, and we weren't great at it. We've gotten better. I think the diversity strategy has yielded the results a little bit less than what I wanted. We're not, I think we're maintaining. I think I would love to be growing at a faster clip, but I think the new, at least over the last year or two, it's not embarrassing to say that we kept flat or a little up, growing in high single digit versus, either managing money poorly and being in a net negative. We have for 8 years been managing in a positive, which, to our investors, they like this. To our talent, they like this. Everybody gets, bonuses each year. So, it's a little bit of a how much do we want to go out and swing for the fences? We don't feel we need to, so we're a little more reserved in how aggressive we go. Ironically, for a growth business, but we see enough brands act a little irresponsibly and non-methodically. So we look at data, and data tells us diversify your lead gen, your business pipeline, your development pipeline in a way that smooths out the edges, but you're not going to go like you're not Zoom, right? Zoom in February 2020 was very different than March of
Yeah.
2020, right? Just they were just in the right place at the right time, and it 10x very quickly. We're not going to be that, but we're going to grow at the pace that is healthy. Our people have balanced lives. I think so. Going back a little bit, I was in advertising for 25 years before I started Mobile First, and in the services business, I pulled all nighters. I don't know many people that pull all nighters anymore. My team works whenever they want to work. They have deliverables. We have biweekly meetings with clients, and the time that they're not presenting to clients, they're doing their research and figuring out how to grow clients, finding insights. But other than that, they can go, get their laundry done. They can, do the stuff that the modern world expects, right? Two people are working in every household now. It's not, it's not like there's someone at home taking care of the house. Like everybody needs a little more time. Mental health is a definite big issue. There's a large percentage of at least this country that's on it, anti-anxiety meds. So I think yes, there has to be a mindset of how do we grow, and it's on the numbers, the zeros and the ones, but you also have to realize that there's people involved, and with AI, it's going to get tougher and tougher for people to be able to make enough money to live in this world, live in this country, deliver a good product, earn a good living, and feel valued and deliver a good day's work. So we keep on iterating so that we are beyond the questionable approach of whether or not you could, dump something into an AI platform and just get out all the things you need to improve your site on a regular basis. So we feel we're positioned well that way. But yeah, your question about what are we a little bit behind on? We're not getting the inbound leads at the clip that I would have liked. We're not getting the 5, 6 meetings a week. Lucky if I get, one or two. They're usually good meetings, and it gives us the ability to and energy to spend with those clients at a non-meteoric clip, so those can be more thoughtful. But we also find them being more methodical and having the ability to meet with other agencies to have deeper conversations. No one's panicking that, there was a time where just sign something and let's get going. Just let's start testing. We have to make the quarter. Now it's like, wait, before you sign a protracted contract, take your time.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of a slowdown, but so you're asking me what do I see as the trends? But so there's some good stuff with that, but there's also the associated negative.
Yeah, it makes complete sense. I mean, you talked about diversifying your client acquisition processes, and but also increasing the amount of meetings you get a week. At the same time, it sounds like you're looking for quality over quantity at the end of the day.
Always.
Like, yeah, it's not about getting, 30 to 50 different calls from, Joe Schmo. You want
That's right.
the real deal.
Yeah, I
Uh,
don't know what my competition, I don't know what they're reading. I was a big Jim Collins, Good to Great, Built to Last, Simon Sinek, Art of the
mhm.
Start. Um, Values, purpose, these things are all inherent in, you know, the culture and the scope of the people that we both are attracted to work here, as well as clientele that recognize, if you're positioned well, right, angels clients or angel customers, demon customers, if you're constantly, dealing on price, if you're constantly trying to just close a deal, you're gonna burn and churn your people. You're gonna, high turnover on both talent and on clients, and we've been able to avoid that.
Yeah,
Recently, we
I'm curious what you've tried before and what didn't work. I mean, you have a lot of processes in place today, but what was the road here?
yeah, I think the biggest repeat of attempts have been email outreach. As I get 30 to 40 emails a week on, hey, we have the solution, we've cracked the code, and you hope that, not that you hope, you have to believe someone's doing it well, or else all of them are going to the same webinar to learn how to do these things, and they're they're all delivering. So there have been moments where, from a cash flow standpoint, I was like, all right, we have some cash to figure out, what is this all about, and then we learn some, and then we try it again, and in each case, it always ends up being a big failure. So that's been terrible. Um, I think, partnership. We've learned a lot about what it takes. I had an old boss, Roy Spence from GSD&M in Austin. He said everybody wants the relationship. They just don't want to be, actively manage the ship. So there is this. I always want to be in this kind of relationship or partnership, but the ship is really hard. So you have to dedicate time to developing a relationship with whoever is responsible on their end, and really, cut to it. Isn't about just saying, well, I've got 10 agencies now I can work with. It's like, how well do you know those agencies or us? How well do you know what we do? How well do you know, when you ask us to do something, that it's done on time, on budget, and uh, and delivers, what's expected? And, partnership role is another one. It's like a CMO. I think the lifespan of these people are roughly about 16 to 18 months. So you have to diversify your claws into these different relationships at different levels. When I say claw, I mean build authentic relationships. You can't have it just with one person. You need to have multiple people know your value proposition. You have to be able to last beyond the one person that on paper or on title has that relationship, because and I have this all the time. So you can't rely just, well, I've got, 5 or 6 great partnerships. I have to go after new partnerships while at the same time maintaining and growing the current ones, because something's going to happen. There's always something. That company goes out of business, it gets acquired. The whole team gets, knocked out because some PE person just decides that they're going to wipe out that group and outsource it. So you can invest, 1, 2, 5 years into a relationship, and it's great. You can say that you had that relationship, but um, if it's not delivering, well, then you're not making your number. So I would say that right now we're on the path to invigorate new relationships, as the last 6 months were very tough on our industry. I'll just put it like that.
I mean, you basically answered my follow-up question here, and which was, when it comes to scaling or building teams to help drive growth, do you prefer doing most things yourself, or are you more focused on finding the right partners and systems to take things off your plate?
Yeah. I mean, I think you have to do a little bit of both. You have to have something that's worthwhile for somebody else to say, I want those guys. You need the case studies, you need the reputation, you need you know, all those things that if someone's going to go an inch deep to look into you got to be able to pass the red face test and say, yes, we do that, and we do that well. Or else, bad reputations get cooked pretty quickly. But we're also looking at more long-term things that are culturally right. So I know it's pretty in vogue. You've got a podcast. We've got a podcast. Everybody's got a podcast. The question is, we took over a year to figure out, what is our podcast? Like, what do we really care about? What are we trying to do? Is it a tactic to try and develop eyeballs and create awareness for us? Or, is it altruistic? Is it hidden behind and veiled in a lead gen? What is it? And what we decided on, let's do what we feel strongly about, and that's shining a light on the director of e-commerce. That's the bulk of our business. And it's fascinating. There's no single pathway. Like, you want to be a doctor, you want to be a lawyer, you want to be an accountant, there's certifications, and you grow up to be that person. But there's a lot of people that have tremendous amount of responsibility today to make sure a brand is successful. And no two stories are alike of how any of these two people got to their position, or even how they execute against that position. So building a community in which people who identify in this space, but also wonder, how the hell did I get here? We're being that support piece. We identify. We don't talk about, soliciting for business. That's not it. It's, can we demonstrate that we get you, that we understand you, that we appreciate you, that there's things that have to be done in the industry, maybe some things we know, some things we don't, that needs to shine a better light on these folks within the organization, that the CFO understands how uniquely challenging this role is. From budget fluctuations, downward pressure, margin pressure, top line pressure, team management, reviews, and do the good work that has to be done. This is not putting, your money into a programmatic ad machine that kicks out and says, all right, spend this much this week to this audience, and algorithms are going to take over. It's not how our industry works on our side. Building a proper UX for trust, for more people to buy something or sign up for something, is hard on a consistent basis. It's very hard. And every client will tell you, our conversion rate's, 0.5% on mobile. That means 99.5% of all the traffic you're sending is doing nothing. And then, well, that's how it's been. Well, it doesn't have to be, but we have to do some work here. And the best brands are the ones that are at 3, 4, 5% even. So you can do it, and you can do it intelligently and even cost effectively. But a lot of people are still new to this. So we're going to indoctrinate, and we're going to be an advocate for these folks. So it's a little bit of a slow boat to brand reputation awareness. So awareness, perception, consideration of mobile first. But in the end of the day, we feel it's the right thing to do, to spend our time here. It's what our people want to do. And back to your point, we're going to get the clients that we want and the talent working for us that are authentic.
Yeah, how important is it for you to build more strategic visibility right now? So, I mean, I think we already talked about this a lot, and you're talking a lot about how can we grow and explore different verticals, and it seems like you're on the right path here, like actually providing value to your listeners, actually trying to educate future clients on how they can do things themselves, or maybe partner with mobile first to
Yeah.
get it done professionally.
Yeah.
Um,
The heavy hand won't work. If you have,
Absolutely. I mean,
yeah.
you know what? One thing we love about the leaders we interview is that they're usually really open to new ways of solving old problems. How do you personally approach finding new strategies or partners to help drive growth in your business?
Um, well, I got to tell you, I mean, I'm at a certain stage in my life where, as a leader, the role of being the solver or the entrepreneur that says I have to figure it out to, take care of the troops. I would say 3, 4 years ago, I shifted and I basically gave the keys to a certain degree to the younger people and say, it's now your company. Everyone owns equity in the company. So if you work in mobile first, you own equity. And, as Gary Vaynerchuk would say, if you want people to work to the level you do, or that they care to the level you do, they have to have ownership. So if there's no ownership, then you're just paying them a salary, or you're just paying them, the time to stay at your company until they leave. Um, so, so I put more onus and responsibility on the team to think through what are the ways in which we're going to connect. I get it. I look in the mirror. I can see that I'm not 32 anymore. My career is not ahead of me, but the learnings, the experience, the counsel that I can give my team to say, hey, I think that's a really good idea, but ask more questions than I do tell anybody what to do. And if they believe strongly in the way, then I'll invest in it, and we'll go that way. So it's not that complicated. You just have to invest the time and back up what you say. I think if the younger people much faster to be able to size up a situation and say, the emperor has no clothes. So if you're not doing what you say, but then they have to hold up their end of the bargain, right? If they want to have more say and they want to um, work at a company that's contemporary and wise, then they have to do the work today to figure it out. Um, I'll give them the opening and I'll give them the support, the financial support to go do it. So this whole podcast is their idea, and I said, great. So just ask questions to make sure that they're going to commit. Right? I think it's easy. Yeah, let's do a podcast. It'll be fun. I'm like, well, you ready to do this for the next 2, 3, 4 years? Are you signing up for this? Because there's a million podcasts that have 5 episodes, a million of them. So let's not get into the podcast dungeon. And they're committed. So, and they're showing it and they're backing it up. Um, so they're being creative, they're being thoughtful, they're it's also a way of expressing their frustrations with things. Like, instead of being upset a client isn't allowing us to do something or rejecting an idea that is logical and data is telling us, you can parlay that into a podcast situation where you're able to ask questions and find out from other people how would you handle this situation rather than just bitch or complain. So it's a little bit of, we call it what do we call it? We call it growth therapy. So
I love that.
or ecom therapy. So there's a little bit of melding of all these things together and not keeping, look, this is business and that's personal and we're just here to make money. I just as a person who's been a CEO for, I don't know, 10 years, and a leader in or leadership positions in large agencies. I've seen good leadership, a lot of good leadership, and I'm very, very thankful that I've had a lot of great mentors. I've also seen a lot of bad managers, and it all comes down to, do you believe in your people and good communications? Are you challenging them?
Amazing. Yeah, I love these insights. I mean, this is so valuable for people to hear. Um, You know, with that being said, I would love to ask you before we wrap up, is there anything you would like to share that I didn't ask you that you have on your mind?
It's always a good question. It's always a good question. Um, well, I guess I would love to hear, you know, your, your take and what you're doing. That if there's anything that Mobile First has done, that you've done some research on us, um, what would you recommend that we spend some time or energy doing?
Yeah, absolutely. So in at Imperial Arts, we do mainly partner with B2B SaaS, but we found other clients as well, even down to dentists and other agencies, and help them grow from, having a couple signups a week on their inbound to, you know, as you said, maybe 8 to 10, but we've had clients that have up to 30 or 40 clients a week or and a month. And based on what you mentioned, there is a lot of overlap. So usually what we do, we apply new tools to all the old strategies. You mentioned cold email marketing. I mean, that's how we found each other. So we like to take a personalized approach to old solutions and apply new technology like AI to really optimize the outreach and be helpful to the people we're reaching out to. Leveraging case studies, leveraging the reputation of the company to get more inbound signups. So, yeah, you did mention diversifying your client acquisition processes, and uh, of course, I would say that I think I could help, and I would
Okay.
love to put together a plan together on ideas on how your business could grow together with us, working as a partner. Um, before I pitch you on that, I would love to just say that I really appreciate you coming on this podcast and sharing your insights and your personal insights throughout your career. This is extremely helpful, even for me. So thank you again so much, and for everybody listening, go check out mobilefirst.com, and I'm sure Jonathan will take good care of you.
Thank you so much, Ever. It's a pleasure, and I'll follow back up with you.